We are going live. What's up, folks? Hopefully, y'all folks are hearing me, and we are live on YouTube. I'm your host, Mike Pugh of the Fbx Virtual Channel, and you're tuning into a Blender, more of like an experimental live stream. I haven't done a Blender live stream in, I would say, about 3 months, and mainly because my computer's kind of screwed up. But other than that, I'm just gonna go for it and see what I can do. I also was on a summer break, a summer vacation, you can call it, from YouTube. So I took off about 2 months off of YouTube without having to upload, without having to communicate or whatever on my actual YouTube channel. So I apologize to all those who have been my viewers all the way from when I first started or within the recent times, and you recently subscribed. I apologize, but hey, we got to take a break sometime. So here we go. We're going to jump and nosedive right into Blender 2.81 Alpha. If y'all folks never got it, haven't received the message about it where you can get Blender 2.81, well, hopefully you can get to see how to do it from this video. So what you would do to get here, this location, you go to blender.org. I believe that's the website, blender.org. And from blender.org, you don't see it right away, obviously. This is the more of like the home page for Blender. So what you're going to have to do is go over here to where it says download in the upper right area. And then you don't see it right away from here either. So it took me a little time to figure that part out, and I may have to figure it out again while I'm doing this live, but it's all good. So what I did, I basically scrolled down a little bit, and now I got it. So right here it says go experimental. So you just scroll down to this pink area, and then you click get experimental builds or whatever. And when you get here, then you pretty much are going to click on what type of machine you have. So if you have a Linux computer, you click that one. If you have a Mac OS, you click that one. If you have a Windows computer, you click, well, you don't have to click this one. It's defaulted to Windows, obviously, because most people have Windows machines. So this is the Windows 64-bit version. So you may be kind of shit out of luck where you cannot get it to work for your operating system. Another thing is, if you have a Windows 60, not 60, but a Windows 32-bit computer, obviously you're probably going to have to use older versions of the Blender software, 3D software. And for those who are brand new to Blender, if you don't know anything about Blender, I highly recommend for you to go to the home page and start reading up on it and try to catch up. It's pretty much a 3D software, and it has a great deal of tools that will allow you to create 3D models, animations, 3D animations. You can do a great deal of stuff. You can even implement Blender as a video editor software for your video editing needs if you're a creator on YouTube, which I haven't got into doing that yet, but you can do it. So let's move on. We're going to download this tool. For the first time, I haven't used Blender 2.81, but I've been using Blender 2.80 beta and the official build, the official launch of Blender 2.80, which was out of the beta recently. So I'm going to click OK, download it through my web browser. If you're using Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome, pretty much you have to download it through your web browser. It's not an actual software package that you're going to buy at a store. And in terms of buying it, it's $0 to purchase Blender. So you're pretty much paying nothing for this software. And this software is really, really amazing what you can do with it. Even Hollywood studios, in terms of their animation side and their film side, some of the filming that's been made in Hollywood has been using Blender. You know, they've used this software, certain studios and certain individuals in their teams. So it would behoove you to try to learn how to use Blender. You can also purchase other tools that are out there for doing 3D modeling, 3D animation, and film editing and things of that nature, but obviously you're gonna have to put out a lot of money for most of those tools. That's why I enjoy Blender, because it's a free open source tool. I can actually generate content from it and earn money off of whatever content that I create, which is pretty dope. So you can create commercial use type content where you can use in your videos or in your film projects or whatever type of content that you're trying to create with it as a creator. You don't have to necessarily be a YouTube creator. You can be any kind of creator and use Blender, and it will most definitely help you long term if you get really good at Blender. And I'm still a student myself, and I haven't implemented it in full force in a full project, but I do know other people have done it and have benefited on their end to what extent they chose to use it for. So that would be for the side of, if you're brand new to Blender, you're a student like me, you're a newbie, and you don't know anything, well, that's the benefit of it. It's free and open source. You don't have to put a dime towards it if you don't want to. Now, if you do want to help them, say you are benefiting in terms of learning and things of that nature, and you want to help Blender, they have a donate area right here where they have what is known as the Blender Foundation, and it would behoove you to also go donate to them, which I became what is known as a Blender Cloud member for a little while, where I had the budget to, allocate to that, and then my funding kind of ran out a little bit on that. But I'm going to go back to becoming a cloud member, a Blender Cloud member, which basically is another form of donation, or helping out the Blender developers to go further. So if you wanted to get there, you just type in Blender Cloud into Google, and you should be able to get to it. You also can get to it from the website, but I believe it's cloud.blender.org. So if you wanted to go that route to pretty much help them, you get benefits from that as well. So they have online courses. They have a really dope add-on for Blender Cloud, which allows you to gain full access to a great deal of their content that they're offering up. So you can actually learn from the content that the Blender developers have put into action and their animators. It's really dope in that extent. So you can go that far. You can do much more than meets the eye with their access. So if you're granted access through Blender Cloud, pretty much they charge around $10 a month or something like that. I believe I was paying around $11 a month. You can go to pricing just to check. There's a link up here in the upper right corner. But pretty much it is really user friendly. It gives you access to a lot of their tooling, which one of the tools that I didn't cover on my actual channel because I don't know how to use it yet. I'm still trying to learn some of the stuff behind the scenes. It's called BlendRig, and it's a way for you to learn how to use one of their developer-made rig control systems where you can animate characters. And this character you see here, they used BlendRig to animate the character from one of their recent films that they created, known as Spring. And Spring was a really dope film. I watched it. I loved it. I don't know if y'all folks have watched it. You can watch it off of the main actual homepage, I believe, and you can also see excerpts from it and differing things. They also give you and grant you access to some of the files so you can check out how it looks in terms of it being in the Blender viewport. I don't know if you're going to get to the level where you can actually create an actual film like that, animated film. That's up to you. That's up to how far you're willing to go with learning Blender, and also how far you're willing to invest into your tooling, meaning your hardware and software that you have on your own, on your side, your end of your computing equipment that you have. Because if you don't have certain software and certain hardware to back it up and to be able to go further with the rendering and the things that are needed for animation, then you probably won't be able to go as far as what they were able to crunch out with Spring. So they have a certain budget that they allocated for it, and they use, like cloud-based backup and data storage, and maybe all right, we're back, and I'm having a little technical difficulties. I really do apologize, folks. When this live stream actually is done, it's gonna become a pre-recorded video. So all my errors that I'm having with my computer, in terms of my computer crashing and all of that stuff, that's gonna go away. So I really do apologize about that part, but it is what it is. I have a really trashy garbage computer and it just sucks. But it's a gaming PC, so in another way it does work to some extent. I'm able to use Blender at least on the level of this newer Blender 2.8 and beyond. If I had an older computer, you probably are experiencing those issues where you cannot get Blender 2.80 beta or better to work. And that's because your computer's downgraded. And like I was saying about the 64-bit version for Windows, that's pretty much one of the stopping points for a lot of people. But it would behoove you to upgrade your computer to a gaming PC or greater, which would be like a workstation, something that has a larger scale NVIDIA, more of a graphics card. NVIDIA is recommended for Blender, and you can also check out compatibility from the homepage of Blender. But let's move on. Let's go on to the Blender 2.8 and try to open it up. So we're going to go in, and hopefully I don't experience any more crashes on my PC while I'm doing this. So I just now finished the download, got my download section from the actual web browser for Mozilla Firefox, and now we're going to open this zip folder by extracting it. And I pretty much run through all of this stuff for those who are new to Blender or any other software that's out there. We don't know who is brand new to all of this stuff, but we're going to extract it and send it to my download section on my computer, and then I'm just going to move it to my Blender folder on my computer, because I created a Blender folder for anything that I do in reference to Blender. So that way I can sort through things and I can allocate and locate on my computer's resources where I want my Blender files to show up at. That's what I recommend for folks to do, to be organized, extremely detailed when it comes to Blender or any 3D software, because you can get lost in the source of it, because there's a lot of file exchanges that you're going to be doing, and that's where 3D really lies at in terms of whatever graphics and components, elements that you pour into your 3D projects. Eventually they're going to land into file folders, and you want to organize that. So I'm just waiting for this thing to go through. That's kind of boring, right? But other than that, I was talking about Blender Cloud and getting into the Blender Cloud. I highly recommend for folks to try it, give it a try, to help out support the team for Blender's team that's out there, the team of developers, and a great deal of people in the community benefit from us helping them, because it keeps Blender running and it works full cipher, you know, the full 360-degree rotation on benefits, where a great deal of people are benefiting. You can also see some of the open movies they have. They have tons of open movies that they created. Well, not really tons and tons, but there's a lot, at least over 10 of them, I believe. You can check over here and click this featured open movies section on the Blender Cloud thing, and you can get to see some of their recent films, like spring animated films, short films, or they have some, I think they have some long ones. I'm not really sure, but I watched a great deal of them. So other than that, that's Blender 2.8 Alpha, well, Blender 2.81 Alpha coming at you. Let's see, it's almost downloaded. So that's pretty much the way you would get it on your PC. So hopefully I can get the inner workings going and show y'all folks some of the functionality to some degree. I really don't get too much into all of the functions of Blender, because like I said, I'm a student. I'm not really a certified or bona fide 3D modeler or expert at any of this stuff. I'm more of a person who likes to experiment myself when it comes to software, and I create videos about it until the nth degree, maybe 2-3 hours long or something like that, which is most definitely a little bit going overboard, but I like to do that so I can remember everything I did. That's mainly why I create these videos, besides the fact that it's going to help other people in the end who are newer than myself to it all. So here we go. This is how it looks. It's opening up. So it's giving me the access to the files that are part of it. And you just got to wait a little while for the actual, how would you say, executable file for Blender, for the software itself, to show up once you get it downloaded. So you're going to look for this little icon, the blend icon or Blender icon to the left, and then you can either right click and you'll be able to pin it to your desktop to like the taskbar, which I got 1, 2. I have 2 different icons down here. So if you want to add another one, an additional one, which I highly recommend for y'all folks to do that, you just can like move them around on your desktop, your Windows desktop or whatever PC you have. And these are different versions. So this is 2.79b. This one is Blender Blender 2.80, and then this one is 2.81 alpha. So that's what this one is. So that's why I like to section off things as well. So I'm going to hit the back arrow, and I'm going to find this Blender type, meaning the file folder type based on the name on my PC, and I'm going to move it. So I think this is actually the one here. So let me copy it just in case, and I'll go back to my downloads, and here I believe this is it here. So it showed up here by just clicking the download tab up here, and it brought it back to my download section. So I want to take this. I believe I already copied it, but I'm gonna copy it one more time, and I'm gonna move it to my 3D objects, and then move it to my Blender folder that I created a while back. I also have a Blender Add-Ons folder. I highly recommend for y'all folks to create a folder like that. If you don't know how to create a folder, I do this a lot in my videos. You right click and you go to New, and then you go to Folder on your computer. But you're gonna right click, not on another folder. You have to go to a white space that you can left click around where there's no selection. So if you select over here in this area of the folder, it's going to turn blue. You don't want that. You want to go in between all of the folders, like somewhere in the middle. It's kind of hard to do, where your clicker is not highlighting anything, and then left click and it will deselect the folder. Then from there you want to right click and then go to New. It's kind of tricky. Then you go to Folder, and then you can create the folder there. I believe you also can create a new folder up here where it says New Folder. So that would probably be better to do. So let me just type this one in. I'm gonna call this sample. So say this was the Blender folder you created. You can rename it by right clicking and then go to rename, and then you can type in a new name in there. So that's one of the things you can do to organize your folders. That's what I do with all my folders on my PC. Most definitely I was doing it before I got into Blender, but after I got into Blender I started doing it more and more, because there's a lot of stuff that you're going to start, downloading and trying to get working on your computer. So other than that, that's how you do that to organize your folders. So I'm going to take it right here. I'm going to right click, and the one that I actually copied, I'm going to paste right here. And it's going to paste over 4,667 items from my downloads to. Okay, folks, I am back. And sorry about that disturbance. Had another disturbance in the matrix of Blender. No, I'm just playing around. But yeah, when you're done, you're gonna try to run that icon. It's gonna say Windows protected your PC. Sometimes Windows will bring up this stuff. If you have this, don't panic or anything. If you click don't run, obviously it's not gonna run. So you click more info here, and then it gives you the options to run anyway. Because blender.execute or whatever is not recognized by your PC 9 times out of 10, this is an experimental build as well, because it's Blender 2.81 alpha that's being run. And you'll see once Blender finishes loading it up on the screen, you're going to notice it's going to have the upgraded version. So now we're on Blender 2.81 alpha, and what can we do with it? That's the question. Now, one of the things I noticed is my computer never done this. Even when I got the official Blender 2.80 official launch build, it did not give me the options here where you see the left, right, play, tools, search, Blender dark, etc. It didn't give me these options. Actually, it was just giving me the default screen where you see the spring character here and her doggy, and it just pretty much gave me the options to go to the recent files that showed up. So if you watch my older videos on Blender 2.80 beta, you'll notice that it doesn't give me this option, which is pretty cool that I can get it now. I don't know why my computer did not grant me that kind of screen through this Blender intro, but I don't know. Now it's doing it with Blender 2.81 alpha, so that's pretty dope. So what does this do? Pretty much it gives you the ability to adjust how you want Blender to start out as. So you can use Blender in different versions. This will bring you back to the older version, 2.79 B, I believe, and this is the industry compatible. these are in terms of your shortcuts. So whatever shortcuts that you use in the previous versions of Blender, you can bring them back by selecting the options that you want. So that's pretty dope right there that they give you the options to do that. What is this right here where it says left and right? Well, pretty much there's been a lot of major league controversy dealing with left click and right click capabilities in terms of 3D software in general, and most definitely in terms of Blender, because Blender used to be known as right click enabled. So it was enabled by default, and right click means that what are you using to control your Blender viewport and your objects in your Blender viewport. So most 3D software are defaulted to left click enabled capabilities. So when I talk about that, when you choose to select something with your left or right click mouse button, which one do you want to control the objects on the screen? So most people using, like the average web surfer or computer user, is using the left click enabled default type of selectivity. So meaning that your left click mouse button generally is going to control what's going to happen on the screen. So if you're used to that and you want your left click to control your actual Blender objects and every little thing that you choose to select, leave it defaulted to left. So now Blender has been switched to left click enabled by default. If you want to go back to the original way that Blender was, which I don't recommend for folks to do, because when you're brand new to Blender, you're probably going to try to left click everything and you're going to notice it's not really doable. So that's the right. So if you want to go back to that level, I don't recommend it, but that's the right. So you would select that. But leave it on the left if you are a random user who never used Blender. I highly recommend for you to try it left click enable first, and you'll never go wrong. You'll more than likely enjoy the experience and learn how to use Blender with ease. The discomfort of learning it is right click enable. All right, so that's that part. Spacebar, I don't know what this means, but I think it pertains to whether or not you want your spacebar to be the play button for your timeline down here. And timeline relates to whatever you choose to build in the future in terms of animation, or maybe you implementing it using Blender as a video editor software or whatever. It's pretty much like a play button. So if you want your play button to be your spacebar, by when you tap the spacebar, then you select play there. If you want it to be your tools options axis, then you would select it here in the center and it will open up tools. If you want it to be your search field to search, I don't know the current search field besides the one here in the outliner / collections area in the upper right area. I'm not going to talk about every little section of Blender because there's tons of videos out there on YouTube to explain and break down every little element of Blender, but I'm just breaking down this part right here because I never did it in any of my videos. So besides that, they have the theme, so you can go light and dark theme. You can switch it and it should switch the theme to a brighter theme. I like the brighter theme. I'm not into the dark theme that much on Blender. I also have my own set themes that I like to play with. So I believe that you can go into the Blender preferences, which means that you can go in and you can change all the settings. You can configure Blender how you want it to look and how you want it to function for yourself. So if you become more of like a Blender, you move from novice to more intermediate level, you'll be able to learn all that stuff. And in terms of using the Blender preferences, that's more like an intermediate level of Blender. It's not really a beginner level. But if you want to challenge yourself as a beginner on Blender, then I recommend you trying to manipulate and play with the preferences. It's not really that hard. But that's where you're going to find your Blender add-ons, which are third-party developers pretty much add things to Blender. And whenever you have outside inputs into Blender, in terms of Blender working differently from what it normally does by default, the way it's set up like this, pretty much that's where the add-ons are going to be taking, impact, and they're going to make a major league effect. They take effect in the Blender preferences. So that's that part. So let me just click anywhere. When you want to get out of this screen, this little screen here, the default screen, you just click out here, anywhere outside of the default screen. Where it says load 2.80 settings, I don't know what that is. And then it says save new settings. Looks like I just now told it to load 2.8 settings. So what it's going to do is probably go into my Blender 2.8 setup, how I had it set up, and it's going to set up the settings the way I had it. That's what I assume. And then save new settings, more than likely is going to save what you want the settings to be, based on your previous use of Blender or something to that effect. I'm not really too sure. But I probably shouldn't have clicked load 2.8 settings. So look what it's doing. It looks like it's freezing the screen. And I don't know what it's going to do. But we'll see what happens. It's all good. One of the things that I've done, I can show y'all folks, this character here that you see is a character I created on a tool known as Make Human. And I want to supply the references and credits to the graphic that you see in terms of the outfit. The outfit was created by another 3D modeler besides myself. I'm not a 3D modeler. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm more of a student. So I created this using Make Human. Make Human gives you the ability to generate characters like this on your own without much skills. You don't have to have that much knowledge in 3D to create characters, which is pretty dope, that a beginner can step straight into a software and create something like this. So up here you see the mohawk that the character is wearing. It kind of looks like a mohawk in the front, but you can't tell from the back because it's really dark. The background's clashing. Well, it is a mohawk, and another 3D modeler created this. So I will most definitely find the actual credits for this character. I do have it somewhere else. I posted it on Instagram, I believe, so it should be on my Instagram, who actually was responsible for creating these differing 3D assets. Whenever you're using 3D assets in your videos on YouTube, you want to give credits to people. I don't necessarily have to do it for these videos that I do, because I do more like how-to educational style videos. Whenever you're creating educational content, you can put in copywritten content from other people, as long as you credit. You know, you don't necessarily have to credit them. As long as you're doing it in what is known as a fair use manner, you should be able to be fine. And most definitely on YouTube, software-based stuff, when you're talking about software in an educational manner, trying to help people learn stuff, it should free you up from the copyright issue. But I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not an attorney, so you don't necessarily take my word for it. You know, try to communicate with lawyers and attorneys who know how to, you know, understand the copyright laws and stuff like that, and they can free you from those issues. So there we go. It looked like it loaded up my settings. So it's back, and now I can start. Now I do have an idea that it may do something different when I try to come back. Let me exit out and then try it again and see what it does. So we're going to bring up Blender 2.81 again. And look, that screen doesn't come up no more. So that was the first time and probably the last time I get to see it, which is really sad, but it's all good. I do want to, show y'all folks some of the work that I've done in recent times, which is more exciting than talking about the Blender Viewport. So what I'm going to do is try to jump in. My most recent one, I'll show you real quick. I called her She's Good. I don't know what that means in reference, but this is the character here. I use Make Human, and we will throw in the render. Right now it's rendering in cycles. Let me switch to Eevee so my computer doesn't freeze. My computer is most definitely having issues. So as I spoke about earlier, if y'all folks just recently jumped in, I'm not sure, but my computer is trash. So I'm gonna have to upgrade as soon as possible. Been talking about it for a while, but it's a matter of having the budget for it. But here we go. This is a character I created. It's a 3D model. She's pretty dope. I think she's pretty dope, and she's workable. So why did I create her, and what is she going to be used for? Well, pretty much I'm trying to create a pipeline, a 3D pipeline using Blender for people who want to animate the face of their character. So I'm trying to create a solution, and I believe it's already been done, but I'm recreating it for those who are choosing to view my YouTube channel, the viewers that are due to become part of my YouTube channel, and the community that's part of what is known as FBC Virtual on YouTube. So if y'all folks became subscribers and you haven't found other methods and other ways out there to make your characters become animated in terms of the facial features, getting the mouth motions, the eye motions, the expressions to come out on the character, well, I'm diving into that because it's taken me a while to figure it out and to puzzle different things together to make it work, and to also do it for free where you're not paying anything to get it done. So to get it done, generally, you're going to have to pay a third-party developer / animation tool, or developer / animation software creator to do it. So they have these mocap tools, which is known as motion capture, where you can pay these developers a certain amount of money, and they give you, tools that implement the controls to tie into the armature that you have to create or generate for your what is known as a face rig. So characters get these things known as face rigs, and you'll be able to see it in a second. I'm going to hold the alternate key and the H key on my keyboard, and I should be able to show it up or reveal this. What is this? Overlays. So you can use the overlays button on the upper area of Blender, and you can bring it up. So here you see this is the face rig. You see these bones? These are actual digital bones, and also known as the armature. It doesn't have an advanced armature. It's very low limited right now. And as a student in animation, I'm learning how to control armatures and how to manipulate the armatures and things like that. They're really not that hard, but it's difficult to build the armature from scratch. But when you get like a pre-designed armature, it's not hard to learn how to use it. It's pretty much a matter of understanding Blender's modes, switching from one mode to the next mode. Right now we're in object mode. Blender has multiple modes, and you can go in and out of different modes depending on what you choose to select. So right now I'm selected on the bones. I can choose to select the hair if I wanted to. Well, it looks like the hair is connected to the suit. I'm not sure, or maybe it's disconnected. Actually, it's not. So I just now selected the hair. The hair is highlighted, and so that's a different object from the bones, obviously. So or / armature. So now I have additional options for modes. So they have other modes. They have sculpt mode, they have vertex paint mode, weight paint mode, and texture mode. That basically pertains, if you're into 3D modeling, you'll know, but it pertains to what type of elements that you're choosing to select on the screen. So if you choose the mesh element, a mesh means the 3D graphic for the 3D model itself. So these elements here that's constructing the actual hair, right now it's actually paint that you see, but if I go to like what is known as the wireframe mode, you'll see that these are actual elements in 3D or in the virtual environment of the viewport that are constructing the hair. So you'll see there's line segments, and generally there's what is known as vertices. Vertices are little small tiny dots, and also vertex. So vertex segments that will make up, generally going to be like triangles or rectangles, stuff like that, that make up the 3D model in the virtual space, in the viewport itself. So if you want to interact with that kind of stuff, you have to select using your left click mouse button or right click. That's what I was talking about, the right click left click thing. So right now I'm left click enabled, so you use your left click mouse button to select from one object to the next object. So that's basically what the 3D software Blender affords you to do. So you can go from one segment to the next segment. So now I'm on like the eyelashes. Now I'm on the whole entire body, and I can select the eyeballs if I wanted. So I double click the eyeballs. Now I'm on the eyeballs. You can also change the translucency of what the 3D objects look like in terms of you being able to go internal into the object and select it. And these things matter when it comes to you being able to manipulate the 3D graphic. So you can go in and manipulate the vertices. If I wanted to, I can go from object mode and bounce into edit mode, and now I can pull vertices. I can push and pull. I can change the 3D graphics in general of how it looks, the contours of the 3D graphic. You can do all kinds of stuff like that. So that's the power of Blender behind the scenes, and most definitely in front of you as the creator. You can be as creative as you choose to be. If you want to make larger eyeballs, hey, go for it. But it has to make sense to the viewer in terms of when you're done, the viewer is going to look at it and they're going to interpret what they see. So if you want the viewer to see larger eyeballs, go for it. If it looks good to you, hopefully the viewer will like it. I'm not sure. But that's all more of like a matter of art. That's why they have such a thing as 3D artists and people who are able to bring out the best in their virtual designs or their 3D graphic design, computer graphic design. And with Blender, you can go pretty far with that part. I know for sure because I've been playing with it and I've been able to create some really awesome stuff using third-party software, add-ons, and different things that they have available. And talking about the third-party software / add-ons, all of my add-ons are missing. So the add-ons that I had installed, they probably more than likely are tied into my Blender preferences. But this is not a video about add-ons. I just wanted to mention that. And the add-ons are going to show up here in the upper right corner area or upper right edge near your outliner and your properties. So I'm not going to talk too much about the outliner, but this is the outliner here, which basically is where all your 3D graphics, 3D assets are going to be located in terms of organization and file folder management type stuff. So you can manage your files here, move them around and different things. Well, you can move them, you can parent them to each other and play with them here. There's also advanced stuff that you can do here. You can hide stuff. If I want to hide the eyelashes, look how the eyelashes just disappear. If I want to hide the body, now the body disappeared, and now I can see through the 3D object and only see the bones if I want to only see the bones. You also can do that using your keyboard. I can hit the H key and make my hair disappear or the girl's hair disappear. So that's pretty dope that you can do all that stuff with Blender. And other 3D software has that capability, but Blender to me has the best user interface interactions because it's very simple, very fast, and highly intuitive for what you want to do. So if I want to bring everything back, I just do Alternate H and everything comes back. And it looks really cool. Look, it came back as a highlighted color, different highlight. So if you want to deselect, you just select somewhere else with the left click mouse button and it deselects everything. You also can shift select in any of these areas here and you can re-highlight all of those items, which are very useful when you're doing parenting and you're choosing to do other things. So you'll know and learn about that in the future because these are the things that you have to do functional wise and procedural wise in terms of your procedures and steps you need to take to troubleshoot something or to create a certain pipeline for your characters so your characters' parts can go into the right places. And say you're doing bone connections and trying to create a rig and things like that, you have to understand how the hierarchy works in terms of parenting one thing to the next thing. Parenting basically means that you're tying things together or creating links and communications between one 3D graphic to the next 3D graphic. So certain body part segments can tie together and link together, etc. 3D object to 3D object, and or control mechanisms. If you're trying to create controls for certain 3D objects, things like that, you have to understand the hierarchy and how they tie together. So that's that stuff. So in Blender you have other things. You have a light. That's my light right there, so I can bring the lamp in. You can create lamps. You can pretty much it's your world. You can do what you want in Blender. and have fun with it. That's what I recommend for folks to do. Because if you're not having fun, like, what are you doing when you think about it, when it comes to all this stuff? So right now I'm having a great time. I'm just experimenting, playing around, just showing y'all folks how I learned certain things and what I know about it to some degree. So say I wanted to play around and move over to another shading option. This is the shader options here. I go from wireframe to solid, and then I can switch around over to this is more of like a material preview that they called it. It used to be called Look Dev. They switched it and changed the naming of some of the things on Blender. So now this is called this is called Material Preview. It used to be Look Dev. So now we're seeing the material aspects of the character, and the difference between switching from wireframe and the material outlook. I think the material is more when you want to get closer to rendering. So wireframe will be like, say I wanted to fix certain points, certain elements in the character's build and design. So say I wanted to switch and hop into edit mode. That's where wireframe would really come into play, and I can select certain points different from other objects. But say I didn't have the overlay on, and now I can't even see the bones. Like, I can't get through the object. Say I didn't have the transparency on. This is transparency options, or show X-ray. So now I can see through. See what I'm saying? So if you not able to see through and stuff like that, that's where X-ray works. So that's why they have the option to do X-ray more than likely. And you can go into, fine tuning certain things. You can, let's hit this. See, now I can't even see through it. So we're in edit mode. Let's see what we're doing here. Right now it's not allowing me to select points. I don't know why. Well, I'm probably not editing the whole entire skin. So let's go back to object mode, and hold on one second. All right, it's because I wasn't selected on this here to show overlays. I wasn't able to see what I was doing. So let's go back to edit mode, and now you can see what you're doing. So now I can go in. Let me steer closer to the points, and now I can actually select inside the mesh. So I'm going through the skin. So to select like the back side, say I wanted to select this vertex here, this vertex area. So these vertices 1, 2, 3, 4, I selected. Now let's hit the overlay option, and now you can't even see that it's selected. See that? Or let me go to the solid shading, and you can see through it, but when I hit the transparency or back up, when I back up, you can't see through it. Right now I'm going through the skin because I zoomed in really close. But if you don't zoom in that close, you can't see through it. See that? So now I just chose other vertices to select. And these are different vertices from the back one. Now if I go through, the back one's not selected. See that? So there's different things that you can do in terms of manipulating and getting into the graphic. Say I wanted to pull these points, I can pull it. Let's move it. And now the 3D graphic looks like that. Really crazy. See that? So now I'm changing where the vertice points are located. I really don't want to deform her arm like that. So I'm going to hit the Control Z and back it out. But you can do that with any of the 3D graphic points on Blender, period. You can do that to anything. So let's back out, and I'll show you manipulating the eyes to some degree. So we'll go to the eyeballs, if I can get into it, and let's pull the eyeballs out. So to do that, let's go to edit mode, and we're going to hit the A key to select all. And we're going to drag it all the way out. And now we're going to hit object mode, and now you're going to see that the eyeballs just came out of the character, which is crazy. Who would want to have a character have the eyeballs come out if it's not a cartoon? So let's see how it looks. It looks pretty gruesome. Let's hide the bones. Hit the H key, and now you can see that her eyes are out of her head. Pretty crazy, right? But somebody might think that that's artistic. I don't. personally, so I wouldn't really want to do that. But I just wanted to show y'all folks that you can manipulate any part of the graphics at any moment in time, which is pretty dope. Depends on what's connected to what. It may affect certain groupings, like vertex groups and things like that, if you don't do it right. So you want to know what you're doing while you're doing all this stuff. Control Z. So that's why it takes a lot of time to learn Blender, and to learn it to such a degree that it will work for whatever projects that you're creating. Because when you do certain things, it may break certain elements. Like in terms of rigging, if you're trying to rig a character for animation, some control rigs, you can't do certain things. Like you may break the elements to it. And in terms of that, it will deal more than likely with creating a control rig. So say you're trying to create a control rig for your character through something like this. I'll give you a good example. I go to Add, and I try to add an armature. And Blender evolved really on a large scale to the point where certain things are automated. So say I wanted to add an armature. Hold on one second. I don't know why it's not giving me the option, but it should add the armature option for Rigify. So it should give me the options to add a Rigify armature. And instead, what it's doing is giving me this add armature thing here. And it looks like it keeps adding additional armatures in my collections over here. So it shouldn't be doing that. It should instead give me the options to add a human armature or some other type of armature. That's what Blender used to do. So for now, it's just throwing armatures in here. But pretty much Rigify is a really dope tool. I don't know if it's working in Blender 2.81 alpha. It probably isn't at this moment, or maybe I'm not doing it right. Let's try Shift A. Showing Shift A, so let's try that. And armature. Add an armature object to the scene. Okay. See, it's adding them up here. But in the past, the previous versions of Blender, it will give you the options to add a human armature. And then when you do that, you can add other types that it gives you the options to do. It would actually add the, let's see, look what it's doing. It's adding a bone. All it's doing is adding a bone. So you see that bone right there? I didn't see it because it was really small. So let's delete that bone. Let's delete the other one. And let's delete this one and that one. So it's giving me that option, but where is the option to add the Rigify? I'm looking to add what is known as a Rigify Armature. When you do that, you can actually outline your character with the bone structure and line it up and adjust it to the Rigify Armature, and then you can take the Rigify Armature and create a full-fledged rig control system, which is known as Rigify, and it gives you really dope controls. So in terms of the controls, you won't see just these bones. You'll have like control mechanisms to manipulate the bones. Say I wanted to go into pose mode now. I can play with the bones. Just rotate. And I can rotate the bones so the character can be animated. What I'm using is, this is an exported rig from what is known as Make Human. So I can play with this, and I can pose her how I want to pose her. And I can animate her, literally animate her if I wanted to. Try to create walk cycles and stuff like that. See that? So I can play with it because it's pre-configured. It's done for me already. I don't have to do the rigging. So Make Human makes it user-friendly and very simple for you to use. Right now, the way that the Make Human version that they have that's out there, it may have some glitches, or a great deal of glitches, where you try to tie it into Blender and it may not work for you. But I'm trying to create workarounds to help people to get around a lot of the glitches. I'm not a developer, but I do know some of the troubleshooting that it takes to get this to work the way it should work on Blender. So that's what I've been doing because I've been playing with it for a while. And whenever you play with something enough, you'll get to see how it works. So right now I can't do IK, is it IKFK controls, which basically gives you the ability to move it like a regular human body does with ease. So say I wanted to bend the knees and the whole entire body to move fluidly with it. Can't do all that stuff. You need IKFK controls. And this basic rig here is limited, doesn't have that kind of capability. And that's the kind of stuff that you'll learn as a new animator student to animation. You'll start to learn about IKFK controls and all that stuff. So the things that I'm mentioning is stuff that I heard about at one point, and then I did the research and started to learn how to use it by applying a lot of the things I learned off of YouTube videos. So it took me like thousands of YouTube videos to start learning some of this stuff, but in terms of actually applying it from, you know, the point of watching it as a YouTuber to being able to apply it in the actual day-to-day use or experiment. So say I wanted to move the head, I can move the head, rotate in the Z direction. You know, I can do this kind of stuff now and today, you know, be able to pull off a basic animation and stuff like that. But in the past, it was just so far from my knowledge base and my core understanding. I didn't know how to use this different functionality over here on the right of the screen where it says scene collection. I didn't understand the properties. I didn't know how to switch around back and forth from the Blender viewport in terms of rendering to viewport. This is the render option for, say I wanted to render out to make this look a certain way as a product. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't understand the viewport option here. There's a lot of things that I didn't understand. So y'all folks are going to go through all those learning phases and transitions to understand the settings that you see here. It's not really that hard, but once you learn it, you can bypass this stuff and just go straight to your project and start building, because a lot of the stuff you don't need to build your character and to get your character up and running. You need some of these settings just to adjust your viewport to make it look better. And then they have other things that's in here, like you can mess with the skeleton, go into the different layer systems that's built in for protection and for your rig and all that. Those are advanced stuff. Not really into that stuff, but a lot of that stuff is provided for you. You got options. Layering options is good for when you're building up your rig to, you know, such a degree to go to levels of advancement. So say you wanted to have higher level controls and stuff for your rigs, your bone / rig systems. You can have hierarchies and you can put them in layers, so it's easier for you to manage it. Because look how many bones this character has. It has tons of bones. Every little segment that you see here is a bone segment. So this right here is one bone. This is another bone. This is another bone. This is like a lip bone, upper lip bones, and so on and so forth. So say I wanted to hide it. I hit the H key and I can move it. Hold on one second. Let's bring that back. Alternate H. Say I wanted to control something while I'm hiding all of the bones. You can do that. Let's see. We go to the rig. I believe this is the rig here. Hold on. Test. Let's see. Which one is the rig? I think this one is the rig. If I hit the H, should be able to hide it. Let's see. No. I used to be able to go over here and select it. Actually, let's go over here and hit the select. Okay, there we go. So we can use that to do it. So let's go back to pose mode and select this part of the mouth and then hide it. And then I can hit the rotate key and rotate part of the lips. See that? So now I can pull off an animation if I wanted to, which is different things you can do. You can animate while it's in the viewport and just play around and create like still shot animations with the face. Just get the eyes moving or something like that. So I learned how to do that. It took some time to figure that out, but it's not hard. Say I wanted to select this part of the eye and this part of the eye, then I can pull off a really cool animation here and do rotate in the Z and just like complicated to do some weird stuff like that. See, so those are like basic animations. Control Z, and it's fun. You know, it's fun to just try to create and have fun. So there you go with that. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do. Look, I created this little smirk with the lip right there, the upper lip. I just pulled it up, and then I forgot to Control Z it to make it go away. But I can get rid of any kind of poses. So you can go in and you can get rid of any kind of poses that you want to get rid of. So I think you go to Object, Transform. Is it Transform? Let's see. I forgot exactly how to do it, but I haven't done it in a while. Animation, clear keyframes. No, I didn't do any keyframes, so that's not really a keyframe. If you're trying to do animations starting out, you probably would start to learn about the timeline here. So you watch YouTube videos that tell you about using the timeline, and then you have to click this little button here, and that will allow you and afford you to do automatic keyframes. And keyframes pretty much are ways for you to store the motion that you choose to build into the animation. So say I wanted the lip to move from closed to open and it's showing an animation. Well, if I had segmented it on a timeline, you would see it when I play it back. It will move it from closed to open and you'll see the display. So it'll go from one frame of the recording to another frame. So keyframes allow you to put timestamps pretty much. So here goes your timeline. You can put timestamps and it shows up as a little orange dot on the screen. And you can also change to, say you wanted to change to your, let's see, it's not video sequencer, it's I think it's the graph editor, or maybe the nonlinear animation. I forgot exactly which one because I haven't done it in a while. But I think it's the let's go to nonlinear animation. Let's see if that one is it. And yeah, so you'll see either the graph editor or nonlinear animation. You'll be able to see the little dots show up. So you can also go to the bottom, at the extreme bottom of the actual software for Blender, and pull up, and you should be able to create another segment, another option for your tools, and then go back to the timeline. So you can have two different options up at once. So you always want to have a timeline down here so you can control it. This is not a how-to, but I'm just giving y'all folks a little bird's eye view of what I've learned how to do. So say I wanted to do automatic keyframing, I just select here and go back to the character, and let's uncheck the eye over here and then just play around. So say I wanted to move the mouth up, right? I'll do a rotate. I have to make sure I'm selected on the right pivot point. So if I'm not pivoting in the right position, it's going to move the wrong part of the armature. So right now it's pivoting off of the back point, which means this part right here, where you see my mouse, this point right here is pivoting. So that's pretty cool. That it's doing that automatically. So say I wanted to do that, that would create a keyframe, and now you see the dot shows up. As soon as you let go of the left click mouse button, wherever you let it go, it's going to create what is known as a keyframe. So you can move it to the next point. So from 0 to whatever you see on the scale here, this is in seconds. So from 0 to 20, that's 20 seconds. This is 40 seconds. So it would frame from 0 to the next level of seconds that you chose to frame it at. So say I wanted to now close the mouth. We're going to rotate and go down. And then use the left click the left click mouse button. I was going to say mouth button. What the hell? All right, so let's go back in the timeline. You can go down here to scrub through the timeline, and I hit the play button, and you'll see it's going to close the mouth. See that? So there's different things that you can do, playing around, manipulating. So now we're going to rotate it back up and just left click. And now you'll see that she's going to, oops, I'm doing it the wrong way. Sorry about that. She's going to close, and then open. See, so that's that part. Now, say I wanted to hide it. We go over here, hit the eye, and let's go back to what we saw. This is how it started out. Hit the play button, and now it's going to animate like that. Kind of rough animation, not really that great, not spectacular, right? So that's why I want to get in here and try to, you know, play around with all that's available out there online to create a fully functional face rig. So what I actually got into is known as animation nodes. It's one of the most recent things that are really something that will work for Blender 2.8 and beyond. I don't know how long animation nodes has been available, but I did see something go all the way back to about 2 years ago or so. So animation nodes has been around for a while, but recently it's been something that you can get for Blender 2.8 to create a control rig control system, or more like a motion capture control system using Blender. But you also have to have third-party software. So you're going to have an iPhone X if you want to do it. And I highly recommend for y'all folks to type into Google iPhone X Blender and or face rig. So something dealing with iPhone X, Blender, and the face rig. When you start to do that, you start to find videos, tons of videos out there where people are actually throwing up what they were able to pull off in terms of the control rig and the face rig for their characters. So there's actually a guy who created this character, this baby character, and he is going pretty far. He actually was able to build his baby character into Unreal Engine, which I don't know if y'all ever heard of Unreal Engine, but it's by what is known as Epic Games, and it's a really dope software. I got it on my computer. I've had it ever since I learned about it, which was about 2 or 3 years ago, but I don't really use it day to day like I use Blender, because a lot of the systems to implement your graphics into it is a lot more difficult than Blender for me, per se. Blender is more user-friendly to me than most of the 3D software that I use, because I've been using it day to day, obviously. But if I was using that tool day to day, I probably would be pretty far with it as well. But I don't have the time. I have to work a regular job, and so you know, I go up and down with different things. So let's go look up. What was I saying? Let's type in. Say you was searching yourself. Put in iPhone X. Now I'm gonna try to explain to you why the iPhone 10X or whatever, iPhone X, is the go-to tool. Basically, it has this software capability built into it known as depth sensing. So it has a depth sensor built into its camera. And how is that significant? So we type in iPhone X and we type in Blender. If you just type in iPhone X, obviously it's not going to find it. If you type in Blender, then you're going to start finding some really cool stuff. Let's see, iPhone X and Blender. Let's go to videos. So we switch over to video search, and now you're going to start seeing people have messed around and manipulated with the iPhone X using Blender. And this is one of the ones that I like to go to, this channel known as Jimmy Gunawan. So try to look this guy up, Jimmy Gunawan. He's pretty dope. He showed me a method of how to use the iPhone X and to tie in animation nodes to it. I watch other people do it, but they don't show the how-to. So this guy actually shows the how-to. So let's go to YouTube real quick and look up his channel. So this is how I like to cross-reference. I don't know if y'all folks do, but I cross-reference things. I look up people's channels and find things straight out from Google. And that's how I find a lot of people's information. And that's how I'm able to learn a lot of stuff. So let's go in and put in Jimmy Gunawan. And hopefully my live stream keeps going. It's going pretty good, I believe. And let's see. Let's go out and go back in and see if it's up. Oh, cool. So my live stream is running really good. We're going to go to Jimmy Gunawan, and this is the channel here. So I highly recommend for y'all folks to look up his channel and watch every animation video he has in terms of live animation nodes or live noding, so you can learn some of the stuff that he was able to do. And in one of his videos, he shows how to do it, which took me some time to find it, because you got to bounce back and forth from one video to the next video. But he does a lot of different stuff with the animation nodes, and it's pretty profound what you can do. It's dope, actually, using Blender. Without using the live animation nodes tool, you won't be able to pull off what I'm able to do unless you use some other third-party tools and software that's a lot more advanced, and sometimes you have to pay for some of that stuff, like I was saying in the beginning. And also, you can create your own rig and face rig and control system in Blender without having the use of animation nodes and without having the iPhone X, but it's going to be somewhat limited unless you really have a depth sensing camera to tie into it, because the depth sensing camera is the element that actually helps to track the data for your 3D face. Your facial features have to be tracked in 3D. If you don't track your facial features in 3D, full 3D, then it's hard for that data to be implemented into Blender, because you can use the motion capture software on Blender to recreate a lot of that stuff, but you're only going to get 2D elements if you're using a regular webcam or a regular smartphone camera without the depth sensing. So that's the whole element and key to using iPhone X as opposed to the regular motion capture stuff. So here it is right here. I believe this is the one that I watched, live node and connecting shape keys with. So I think this is the video that actually taught me how to do it. Once I learned that element, it just blew my mind, and now I'm able to do it. I did it in Blender 2.80, the official launch version. So to be able to pull it off in Blender 2.8, I think I can come back with that actual what do they call it? That file. I think I could bring up the file since it's the updated version of Blender 2.8. So let's see if I can do that. This one I'm gonna scrub because I really don't need this. I just wanted to show y'all folks some stuff that I was able to do. But I believe it's animation node test 3 here. And I use my cousin's iPhone X. I don't have my own, unfortunately. I'm on a low budget right now, so once my budget raises and starts doing better, I'll be able to buy a lot of different things that I need, purchase things that I need, and I can move further. So we're gonna put don't save, and I'm gonna show you some of the stuff that I was able to do. And looks like some of the connections are not made. Oh no, okay, we're good. So it's saying undefined socket type, undefined socket type, undefined socket type. Wow. So it doesn't directly correlate to the newer update. And more than likely it's because the add-on is not functional. So I just have to go into edit, go to preferences, and then find the add-ons. And 9 times out of 10, the add-on is tied in because it's on my computer. It's just not communicating with this version of Blender. So let me try to turn it on if I can find it, and hopefully it is able to sense it. So let's see. I like this dynamic sky one, so I'm gonna throw that on. So now you see the create button pops up. You can create some really dope sky stuff. So here we go. We got make human, throwing in the make human runtime exchange. So now that one's up. It's actually sensing the add-ons, so that's good. So you just have to, it's a matter of activating them by clicking these little check marks. Hopefully the computer doesn't freeze. It looks like it's slowing down because of this selectivity that I chose for Make Human community plugin. So hopefully y'all folks learned a lot so far, or gained some know-how on some of this stuff, even though, like I said, I'm not teaching anything. I'm just showcasing stuff. So here goes animation nodes, and Blender crashed. Wow. So I don't know why that crashed. Why would it crash when I clicked animation nodes? I don't know. Maybe it's not set up for it for Blender 2.81, but look how fast it came back. that was pretty dope. Let me try to get it working without having the animation nodes connected, because it's probably having connection problems. Let's see. So let's go to add-ons, pull it down to animation nodes. I just saw it. Make human, and then right here, node, animation nodes. All right. So yeah, it's partially working. It says this version is still in development, but it's working to pretty much the way that I needed it. The creator of this actual animation nodes is Jacques Luc, or Jacques Luc. So that's the credit for that. So this person actually is really, really amazing. I don't know the person per se. I have to look them up online and on YouTube, but I really do thank them for giving us this capability to use this add-on, because this add-on is just mind-blowing what it can do. So I got that up and running. Let's try to bring back that animation node test3.blend, and it's crashing. So that's not a good sign. It means it's not giving me the ability to use it at all. Wow. So what am I supposed to do? That's the question. Why is it not working? I don't know. Maybe I did an error with that particular version. Let's go to animation node test 1. See if that opens up. All right, so that one opened up. Look at that. Pretty cool. So it probably opened up because I don't have the same connections that I had in that previous version. And don't know what's going on. Why it threw up an error. Maybe Blender 2.81 is not set up for animation nodes. Maybe it just doesn't work. Who knows? Let's switch over to the, let's see, is the node, animation node editor here. Generally, it will give you animation node editor in this node area, or this general area, I should say, not node area. So the general area should give you animation nodes option, and it doesn't show up here. Wow. So that would make this non-functional. That makes sense. So yeah, it's not working in Blender 2.81. I should say. So So this is the character motion that I created, and this is from the Blender version, not Blender version. This one is, what you see here is actually the connections that I made from, sorry, the character is muted, my bad. The character was made from iPhone X. So there it goes. So there goes the iPhone X character down here. Let me try to use alternate H and bring it up and try to get closer to the face. So this is the head that you would get from the iPhone X. It's a actual app tied together known as Face Cap. So Face CAP from my iPhone X. Hold on one second. Let's see if I can find it. I'm not that great at it. Just got into it. Face Cap app. And here it is. Face Cap Banana Flak. So this is the character's face here. This is the software. You can only use it on the iPhone X, unfortunately. So if you have a Samsung Galaxy, whatever, it won't work. Hopefully they can get it eventually for Samsung's future phones, if they do have a depth sensing camera, but it's built only for the iPhone X right now. So you're going to need an iPhone X to be able to do it. So what they do, they have all these face shapes, aka face shape keys, and expressions that's built in already, pre-programmed on the app. So you really don't have to do anything in terms of that part. So all you got to do is turn on the app and record your face through it, and you'll see that you'll be able to provide your facial expressions, your mouth motions, your talk, your etc. into the camera, and then it translates into the character. So you see these little faces. Basically, it's going to express exactly how and identically how your face expresses. So then you get the ability to export that data. That motion capture data is going to be exported as an ASCII Fbx file. So the Fbx file type is going to be an ASCII. So you're going to have to convert from ASCII to binary in order to get it on Blender. So that's what I did, and you would have to go get this software here known as the Autodesk Fbx Converter. So you get the Autodesk Fbx Converter onto your computer. It's free of charge. Once you get it on your computer, it will allow you to convert from ASCII to binary. Once you get your Fbx file as a binary file, then you'll be able to load that Fbx onto Blender. So that's what I did, and I got this. So let me play it, and you'll see this is my actual face data motion captured by the FaceCap app. So once you get that done, then it's a matter of getting onto Blender and tying together the facial motion capture to your actual face shape keys for your character. So if you have a 3D software that helps you to get shape keys for your face rig or whatever, like Make Human, then you're able to get that data translated over and transferred over. So that's what you see here. But I don't have the mouth motion moving yet because it's broken. See all this data down here? The data is not actually being shared properly. But I don't know exactly how I got the face motion moving. It's probably just the head. I have the head tied in with the constraint. For those who are more advanced with knowing how animation works, I went into the constraint systems. See, this is add object constraint or whatever. I added a bone constraint. So you go to the bone constraint. You have to click the bones here. You go to bone constraint, and I added in a copy rotation, I think. Right now it's not showing it, but it should. And that's probably more than likely what it's playing. Playing the animation for the motion of the head. So the head bone is following the bone. There's not a bone, but an empty that's here. If you click and select the head, I'm gonna hide it, and let's select the eyes and the mouth or teeth and hide it. There's 2 layers of them for some reason. You'll see that these are the empties that you see here, and these are what you basically going to use with the motion capture default that Blender gives you the tools to manipulate. But yeah, it comes, for some reason that character comes with these empties, 3D empties, and you'll see if I hit the play button, they're going to move around. So that motion, that basic motion right there, is the motion of the head bone. And so that you can connect the spine bone to the head bone, the spine bone, I should say, to the 3D empty, the main 3D empty, which is this one here at the bottom that I tied it to. You probably could tie it to the eyes, but I just tied it to the main one at the bottom, and that's how I got it to start to move. And so it's mirroring everything that you see down there. And then I tied the animation nodes that you see here into the other control systems for the shape keys, which I can't show that here in Blender 2.81, but it's all good. What we'll do now at this moment, since we're done with Blender 2.81's experimental talks and stuff like that, playing around and just showing y'all folks previews of what I can do, we're going to jump into Blender 2.80 so I can show you the results of what I was able to do and let some of the stuff down here that you see in the animation nodes. So for those who are brand new to all this stuff and you're still watching my live stream, you're going to see some really dope stuff. So let's crush this one and pop up Blender 2.80. So this is the more stable version here. 8.1 alpha obviously is being tested and being currently built upon. So that's probably why the animation nodes doesn't work yet on it, because the developer for the animation nodes haven't built a version for it yet. So every time they upgrade Blender in a new build, the previous add-ons may not work. That's how I know of Blender. That's how Blender works today. You know, some of the stuff doesn't work for the previous versions. So let's see, or the newer version, I should say. So let's go into Animation Node Test 3. And now you can see all the connections are made and they all work. So the dope part that I want y'all folks I think I gotta stop streaming. Nope, I'm good. All right, so now I'm back. Welcome back, folks. I'm having issues with my voices thing. Got this voices tool running on my computer. I need to get this voices thing on pro so I can play around with my voice on a pro level. But sorry about that. I apologize for bouncing out of the live stream. Now I'm back, and we're gonna run up Blender 2.81, and I'll bounce back to the previous version like I was showcasing, but I want to resurface a part that I did have an error over here on Blender 2.81 alpha. So let's get it to run up. Hopefully it's gonna pop in soon. Here we go. All right, looks like it's coming up. And what I did have an error is with the Blender Armature section. So I want to see if I can get it to run now. And I think I know what was wrong with it. So let's go to Edit, go to Blender Preferences, and let's try to activate the add-on for the Rigify. I think that's what you have to do, because I had it previously in the older versions of Blender set up by default. I had the add-on set up for it. Let's see if I can get the add-on to work. Hold on one second. And we're gonna go scroll down and see if I can find the Rigify add-on. Throw in the add-on for Blender Kit. I like Blender Kit, should get that up. And I noticed all my other add-ons were deactivated that I just threw on. So let's try to get them all running before we go any further. And then I'll bounce out of here just to see if the Rigify thing works first. Then I'll bounce back to Blender 2.8. So for those who are brand new to Blender or new to my actual live stream, you just jumped in, thanks a lot for watching, folks. I had a little errors, technical difficulties. My computer does have issues, so bear with me as I go through with this thing. I'm going to try to complete this video, live stream, pre-recorded video, whatever, so people can see what I was able to do in full view. So let's see. This is Blender 2.81 alpha, by the way, folks. So I'm just testing it. Trying to get my add-ons running, activating my different add-ons that I like to have on Blender. And let's see, what else do I want? Animation nodes. That one wasn't working with Blender 2.81, so I'm not going to really worry about it too much. But I want to get this Rigify one. See this one here, Rigify? I think that's the problem. When I went to add a rig, go to add, and I went to add an armature, didn't give me these options. So now I see how the fix is for it. So this is the fix for it. If you want to get that human meta rig, that's this here. And now you can play around with Rigify. So it does work with Blender 2.81. I just wanted to get that out there for those who want to play around with a pre-designed rig, pre-configured rig. The how-to for this, I'm going to create a video for it eventually, because I've played with it a great deal of times, and with differing animation generators, auto generators, like the MB Lab. You're using the Manuel Bastioni Lab as your auto generator, or Make Human, or maybe the auto character generator for Autodesk. I like to use these software because as a newbie to 3D animation and 3D modeling, I want to bypass a lot of the hard stuff, obviously, so I can get something up and running with less pain and struggle and, you know, all the time it takes to get this stuff going. Obviously, live streams for this stuff last long if you really want to get thorough with it and want to talk everything that you know about it or what you learned recently. So some of these things will last longer and longer and longer. And with my computer failing all the time, crashing because it can't handle some of the CG in the background or what's going on my computer, it's just really hard. So that's what makes it more difficult, is the time consumption. So as you can see, this is a pre-designed rig. I don't have to go in and create all the armature bones and connections and hierarchy for it. Thing with this is that if you ruin the face rig connections and you don't match your character with it properly, it's going to fail. Another thing that's going to make it fail, if you try to scale it up in the mode that you see it here, which is in object mode, and you try to create the full rig from it, which is here, you go to the object data for rigging, which is this character icon here. It says object data properties, but it should say something along the lines of more like rigging, but this says data properties. Data properties is going to be for your armature, obviously. So you go there, and at the bottom it says generate rig. If I tried to generate the rig now, it's going to create the control systems for this rig, and you'll see the Rigify controls show up. But say I wanted to mirror and match everything that I have on my pre-designed character. So say I had a pre-designed character in here from Make Human or something to that effect, and it has no bones, or maybe I want to just rig the face, right? It could be any kind of software, or you say you generated the character yourself. You created the character from scratch, from the vertice points. Maybe you wanted to the sculpt mode and you sculpted the character and then retopologized it. If you already know how to do all that stuff, say you did those things, create the UV maps, create the materials for it, you got it all set up. Now your character is ready to be rigged. Well, Rigify could skip past a lot of the gruesome rigging processes that you're gonna have to go through, and it will provide you a really dope armature. But if you mess up the face rig in any way, if you pull any bone points, segments out of place, like these, there's multiple bone connections in the face rig, joint connections, like this joint right here for the nose bone, and this point right here has 3 connections or 4 connections for the nose itself, the pointy part of the nose. Well, if you break any of those and you don't do it right, the face rig won't work. The whole entire rig will fail. So you won't have a good armature. It won't even work. I don't think it will generate the armature. It will tell you there's an error more than likely. Also, these connection points here for the mouth. So it takes a little time to figure out how to make these points move without breaking the connections. I just wanted to talk about that. But yeah, let's try to scale up. If you try to scale up like this, you go scale and you go up in size in object mode and you try to generate the rig is going to be small. Watch, you'll see. The rig should resize to a smaller size. Hey folks, I'm back. I said I was going to go and eat some breakfast, but my computer came back kind of faster than I thought it would. So I just want to end this session real quick. But what we're going to do, let me jump into Blender 2.80. I know I'm jumping back and forth, but hey, at least I was able to display the whole thing with the issue that I had with Blender 2.81 and the armature not really working the way it's supposed to work. I got the Rigify up. I didn't get the Rigify Armature to produce that issue that I showed y'all folks, but I'll show you in some other videos when I get more into Rigify. This video is not necessarily just about the Rigify stuff. It's more about the experimenting and mostly about the fact that we have a higher level 2.81 alpha as opposed to just using the Blender's official launch 2.80, the stable version. But I'm back. We're going back to Blender 2.8. I do need some water because my voice is starting to get a little groggy. And that comes with the territory of doing live streams. You're just talking nonstop. Your voice is and your throat is going to get messed up. So look, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. So while that's running up, let's see what I can talk about. Should come up soon. I don't know why Blender 2.8 takes a while, but it takes a little while to run up. So if y'all folks saw the whole live stream, that's pretty dope. I really do appreciate y'all folks for showing up. I'm doing this actually for myself mainly. I do these videos so I can remember what I'm actually doing, what's on the top of my mind at that moment in time. And I do it with hopes that my experiments and my fun playing around with Blender is going to help other people someday. But if it doesn't, it's all good. If it does, that's pretty dope. So right now it's taking a very long time to load up, probably because my PC is not fully ready to start. I just threw it up as soon as I could. So here we go. We're going to throw up the animation node test 3. Just try to see if I could play it so y'all folks can see what I was able to do and what it could pull off. So once you get into animation nodes, you should be able to do this too. So you got the head right here. This is from the FaceCap app. I have a whole bunch of shape keys tied in to each other. One from the FaceCap app. So whatever I have tied into this FaceCap app, in terms of the shape keys that's built in, you should be able to see it over here. If you click it and select it, you'll see the shape keys here that was built through the FaceCap app developers. So they already have all these face shapes like I was talking about when I was showing the FaceCap app on the screen. Pretty much all the shape keys will come up automatically. You don't have to plug this in. You don't have to create them. They're done for you. So that's pretty dope. And over here, this is my Make Human software. I'm using the MHX2. If y'all folks are familiar with Make Human and the MHX2, it's automated stuff from the character generator software known as Make Human or Make Human Community. And everything is built in terms of the shape keys for that as well. So I was able to take these shape keys here and try to mirror the shape keys that you see here. So for cheek, like I used the cheek squint, and then you see the mirror over here, cheek upright, it's kind of similar. So you'll see the facial motion. What I'm going to try to do is change to a more facial look that you can see instead of it being in wireframe. So this is the shading for like the visual. This is the look dev. Now it's called the material viewer or whatever in the newer version of 8.1 alpha. But let's hit the play button so you can see. And you should be able to see the mouth motion. And that's the most that I was able to pull off with it. I tried to get it to smile, which is not easy because the shape keys don't mirror on that part. But I at least got it moving. So I got the mouth motion. I'm trying to get it to blink as well. So I'm going to have to create the shape keys for the blink because the MHX2 for Make Human does not give you the shape key for the eyes to do anything with the eyes. So with those type of shape keys, you're probably going to have to build it yourself. All right, folks. We should be back, hopefully. Let's see. Let's reset this thing. Getting Blender back up. And hold on a second. I don't think we're up yet. Hey, little girl. My cat wants to join in. She's probably a little hungry. So yeah, we're back on Blender. Sorry about the errors. Constantly having these computer errors. Really, really sad situation with my live streams. We already know that. So let's move on forward. No, you can't get on the keyboard, little girl. Sorry. So waiting for this Blender thing to come back up. I'm going to try to edit this video down the best to my ability so that way all the errors are not that distinguishable and it becomes more easier to watch the full video. So we're going to bring up the animation nodes thing just to end it like I was showing y'all folks. Let's try to hit the play while it's in wireframe so you can see that without the computer crashing. I don't think it's going to crash with that going like that. So as you can see, there's a lot of potential. I paused it right there because I don't want the computer to crash. But there's a lot of potential. Whenever you're doing animation, you need a lot more computer bandwidth and a lot more data capabilities for your graphics, your video card, whether you're using an NVIDIA video card or AMD video card, whatever type of graphics card you have on your computer, you're going to need more scale. You're going to have to scale up. So I recommend for y'all folks to upgrade so you don't have these kind of errors that I have where my computer freezes and stuff like that. My computer most definitely is really bad. I have an Asus computer. The gaming computer is a Asus GD11 or something like that. And it really sucked from the first month that I bought it. I don't know if it's just the Asus set of computers. It's supposed to be Oculus ready, but it's really not ready for anything. Because whenever I do anything labor intensive on a computer, it just freezes. It shouldn't freeze with animations. Trying to pull off animations, like, come on. So I'm gonna try to get a workstation in the future, and also get a gaming laptop that's much better than this. Have more like 16 gigabytes or 32 gigabytes of RAM. I'm gonna try to go up high with the RAM and get a very, very high level NVIDIA graphics card so that it can handle a lot of the load on the computer, so I don't have all these system issues. And I'll be able to help people to see what they can do with what they need to do in terms of, say they wanted to pull up animations and do different things, face rig type animations or whatever. They can actually see everything in full-fledged detail without me having errors. What you see here, this is animation nodes, and this is what I recommend for folks to go and do some research on. And I showed you the video channel that was responsible for helping me to understand how to make this work. You can go and check back in through this live stream, or you can check a future video that I'll be covering the subject in more detail, but for now I'm just new to it. But this is the information that you're going to need. You might want to write this down. I'm going to try to memorize it eventually, but you want this here: data.shape underscore keys dot key underscore blocks, and a closed bracket with more of a, I don't know what this is, I guess quotes, Joe open quotes, whatever you see here where it says Joe open, that's the actual shape key name that you want to mirror onto the other shape key. This is the base itself, so this is what I want to mirror off of. So I'm mirroring from this object here. So say this is the object from the FaceCap app itself. You select on the actual object, 3D object, for the main head itself, and then you go and find what you want to mirror. So I wanted to mirror the Joe open, and this is the shape key here. So say I wanted to mirror this onto the next object or newer object. So say this is the object I wanted to mirror it onto, which is the face of this character. Make sure you double click, copy, and you can paste it in here. And you just highlight, double click, highlight, and paste, which would be Control V. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Very simple. Or you could type it in. It's up to you. And then what you have to look for the shape key that closely, remotely resembles the same type of shape key that you wanted to mirror it to. So I want to mirror it onto the mouth open shape key on this object. So this object has to have something similar to it to mirror it on in order for it to work. So that's why I use the MHX2 and MakeHuman off of my MakeHuman software, community software tool. And I would scroll down. This is the shape keys properties here. You just scroll down. If you want to get to the icon, you move it down a little bit, and it's the green icon here in Blender 2.8. In Blender 2.81, it may not work for animation nodes, because I tried to bring up animation nodes through this live stream and it didn't show up. I mean, it showed up, but it didn't show up here where you can actually change to animation nodes options for the general editor type. So see, it shows animation nodes here in Blender 2.81. Alpha, it doesn't show it. So they probably haven't updated the add-on for it yet, or I don't have the version for that add-on itself. So here goes the mouth open shape key over here. And in my future video, I'll show you folks how to make it work. In this video, I'm just showing you the connections you have to have. I'm not going to really show every little detail because this video is very long already. So I'll show y'all folks in a future video, which I plan to do it. It's going to more than likely be a pre-recorded video to show you how to make the complete connections. But for those who already know how to use Make Human MHX2, you should be able to tell from what I showed here. But here goes the mouth open. You double click it, Control C, and then you just go over here in between the quotes and Control V and paste it in there. And then it will mirror the exact identical motion from one shape key to the next shape key, as long as that shape key has the same influence on that particular object, very similar to the other object. So this works for any object. Using this particular animation node, I guess, how would you say, control? Because this is like a node control. No coding needed. All you need is to write this detail here and this detail here, and it will mirror it over. And you got to connect these node points. Else it says value has a wrong type. So you take this value node and you drag it to the other value node. And this should be an input. So the first one with the jaw open from the face app shape keys should be an object attribute input. And then the output should be object attribute output. You get that from over here from the add, and you find one of these over here. So like I said, I'll show y'all folks that in the next video. And other than that, I'm out of here. Joe Love and Peace to all. Mike Pugh signing off. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to smash the bell icon if you feel this was relevant to you and you gained some info on anything or you benefited in some way from my live stream. This is experimenting with Blender and Blender 2.81 alpha as well as Blender 2.8. I'll be bouncing back and forth between both because 2.81 alpha is the experimental version right now. It's not in its full release. It's not the full launch. So they don't recommend for y'all folks to apply anything using it for an actual full-scale project. It's just for people to play around with for now and just to see what you can pull off if it does work for you. And also to talk about the bugs to the developers. You can go into the community forums and communicate about what you think could be fixed and what can be enhanced. You can add to the Blender development as well from that kind of level and scale. And all that is from blender.org, like I showcased in the beginning. I'm not going to open up the website because my computer may freeze. But other than that, I'm out of here, and I'll see y'all folks in the next videos, live streams, etc. Peace. Hopefully, I don't have as many problems as I had with this one. But that's all I got. I'm out. Mike Pugh, signing off. Oh, I got to go to the actual web in order to end the session. So let me end on Blender first so I don't get a freeze. We're going to discard that. And then we'll go to try to bring up YouTube Live. And I'll try to help people more in the future with YouTube Lives. If y'all folks want help with that to understand how to get the OBS software to work with it, OBS Studio. I'm going to be jumping back into OBS Studio as well because I promised people I would get back into those videos, but I've been doing Blender, covering Blender since I got into Blender 2.8 beta. And I've been covering it as much as I could until the final release, which is now available. But oh, one grand achievement. I wanted y'all folks to see this. We achieved 9,200 subscribers on the FBC virtual channel, and I say we because I didn't do it myself. Tons of people have joined over the years, and it's been about how many years? 8 years or so. 8 years in the making, and a long time to get here. But it's all good. We're achieving high heights, and hopefully we'll break that 10,000 before the end of the year. That'll be dope. So let's see. We got to go to the live stream segment. Go live, and I have to go back to the live stream dashboard and get that live session ended. So here we go. I'm going to click on this over here, and you'll see that it's going to say end live stream. So I can, even though my computer shut down, crashed, all of that stuff is still running. So I'm going to end it right now. Thanks a lot for watching again, like I said, and I'll see you next time. Peace. Oh, and make sure you, after you click it, it pops up and says, are you sure to end your live stream, or are you sure you want to end your live stream or stream?